Daughter and daughter, vanished in Smokies. 5 years later, hikers find this. The morning mist clung to the ancient peaks like ghostly fingers, refusing to let go of their secrets. But on this particular October day, in 2024, two experienced hikers were about to uncover something that would shatter 5 years of agonizing silence and reveal a truth more haunting than anyone could have imagined. October 15th, 2019. Michael Patterson, 34, and his 7-year-old daughter Emma had vanished without a trace in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. What began as a simple father-daughter hiking adventure had transformed into one of the most perplexing disappearances in the park's dark history. But here's what made investigators' blood run cold. Their car was found in the parking lot, their backpack discovered just 200 yards from the trailhead. Yet somehow, they had simply evaporated. Soft piano music begins as we see photos of Michael and Emma smiling together. Michael Patterson wasn't just any father. He was a former park ranger, someone who knew these mountains like the back of his weathered hands. Emma, with her infectious laugh and pigtailed innocence, had been hiking these very trails since she could walk. Sarah Patterson, Michael's wife and Emma's mother, had begged them not to go that day. The weather forecast warned of sudden temperature drops. Something in her gut told her to keep them home. But Michael had promised Emma this adventure for months. How could he have known it would be their last? Within hours of their failure to return, the largest search operation in the park's recent history was unleashed. Over 200 volunteers, bloodhounds, helicopters equipped with thermal imaging, the Tennessee National Guard, even psychics claiming they could sense the missing pair's location. But the Smokies had swallowed them whole. No footprints beyond the initial trail, no torn clothing on branches, no signs of struggle. It was as if they had walked directly into another dimension, leaving behind only questions that grew more disturbing with each passing hour. Theories began to emerge, each more unsettling than the last. Had they fallen into an unmapped cave system? Were they taken by someone with intimate knowledge of the park's hidden areas? Or had they encountered something in those ancient woods that defied explanation? Local Cherokee legends spoke of spirits that could lead the unwary astray, of places where time itself seemed to bend and twist. Park officials dismissed such talk as folklore, but seasoned rangers whispered different stories in private. Stories of hikers who reported feeling watched, of compasses spinning wildly, of sounds that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. Sarah's world had collapsed. Every morning for 5 years, she woke hoping it was all a nightmare. Every evening, she left the porch light on, praying they would somehow find their way home. The not knowing was a special kind of torture, worse than death, because death at least offered closure. She aged a decade in those 5 years. Friends watched helplessly as hope slowly poisoned her soul, because hope without resolution isn't a blessing. It's a curse that eats you alive from the inside. Present day, October 2024. 2 hikers with backpacks walking a remote trail. Fast forward to October 12th, 2024. Mark Chen and Lisa Rodriguez, veteran hikers from Knoxville, decided to explore one of the park's lesser-known trails. They were experienced, well-prepared, and completely unprepared for what they were about to discover. The trail they chose was rarely traveled, a forgotten path that wasn't even on most modern park maps. Local rangers sometimes forgot it existed. But something kept drawing them deeper, as if the mountain itself was guiding their steps toward a revelation 5 years in the making. The hikers stopped suddenly, their faces changed from curiosity to horror. Mark was the first to see it, partially hidden beneath years of fallen leaves and twisted vines, something that didn't belong in nature's domain, something man-made, something that made his stomach lurch with recognition and dread. Extreme close-up on Mark's widening eyes. "Lisa," he whispered, his voice barely audible above the mountain wind. "Call 911, now." What they had discovered would reopen a case that had haunted investigators for half a decade. But more than that, it would reveal that everything everyone thought they knew about Michael and Emma Patterson's disappearance was wrong. The discovery was Emma's small pink backpack, the one she had been wearing when she vanished. But it wasn't just the backpack that sent shockwaves through the investigation. It was what was inside it, and more crucially, where it was found. The backpack was discovered nearly 8 miles from where they had originally vanished, in a location so remote and treacherous that experienced search teams had deemed it impossible for a 7-year-old to reach. Yet somehow, it was there, preserved by the mountain's embrace, like a message waiting to be delivered. But here's what made seasoned investigators question everything. Inside that backpack was Emma's journal, with entries dated 3 days after their official disappearance. Entries that described events, places, and encounters that should have been impossible. Emma's final journal entries spoke of following the singing lady deeper into the mountains, of sleeping in a crystal cave that glowed with its own light, of her father growing more quiet and strange with each passing day, and most disturbingly, of realizing they couldn't find the way back to the world. The handwriting becomes increasingly erratic and desperate. The final entry, barely legible, simply read, "Daddy says we're going to sleep now. The mountain wants us to stay forever. I'm scared, but he says it's okay. Tell Mommy I love her. Tell her we're still together." Long pause. The weight of those words hangs in the air. But the discovery of Emma's backpack was only the beginning. 3 days later, search teams found something that changed everything they thought they knew about that October day in 2019. Michael Patterson's body was discovered in a ravine just half a mile from the original trail, a location that had been searched dozens of times before. The medical examiner's report would later reveal he had died from head trauma within hours of their disappearance, likely from a fall while trying to find help after Emma had wandered off. This meant that 7-year-old Emma Patterson had survived alone in the wilderness for at least 3 days after her father's death. A child, lost and terrified, somehow managing to travel 8 miles through some of the most unforgiving terrain in North America. The question that haunted everyone wasn't how she survived those 3 days, it was what happened after. Emma Patterson's body was never found. Despite the most intensive search in the park's history, she simply vanished into the mountain's eternal embrace. Sarah Patterson's voice, from a recent interview, barely audible. "At least now I know Michael tried. I know he died trying to save her. But Emma, my baby girl, she's still out there somewhere. And I don't know if that's a blessing or a curse." The wind through the trees sounds almost like a child's distant laughter. Some say on quiet nights, when the mist rolls thick through those ancient peaks, you can still hear Emma calling for her daddy. The Cherokee elders nod knowingly when they hear such stories. They understand what others refuse to accept, that some mountains never give up their children. The case was officially closed in December 2024. Michael Patterson was laid to rest beside an empty grave that bore Emma's name. But closure, investigators learned, isn't always about finding answers. Sometimes it's about accepting that some mysteries are meant to remain unsolved. A final, haunting image of Emma's missing person poster, now weathered and fading. The Great Smoky Mountains continue to guard their secrets, and somewhere in those misty peaks, a father and daughter's story has become part of the mountain's eternal legend. The only witnesses to their final chapter are the ancient trees that continue to whisper their names to anyone brave enough to listen. But their story teaches us something crucial about the wilderness we think we know. Educational segment. What this case teaches us about wilderness safety. The tone shifts to more educational, though still respectful of the tragedy. The Patterson case revolutionized how we understand wilderness survival and search protocols. Here's what experts learned from this heartbreaking mystery. Advanced navigation technology isn't foolproof. Michael Patterson carried a GPS device, but investigators discovered the unit malfunctioned in the area where he died. The Smokies contain significant magnetic anomalies that can interfere with electronic navigation. Modern hikers should always carry multiple navigation methods: GPS, compass, paper maps, and most importantly, the knowledge to use them all. Child psychology in survival situations. Emma's journal entries revealed crucial insights about how children process emergency situations. Child psychologists noted that her writing showed she initially viewed their situation as an adventure, which may have helped her survive longer than expected. However, this also meant she might have wandered further from rescue areas, following curiosity rather than survival instincts. Search pattern evolution. The discovery of Emma's backpack 8 miles from the search zone forced a complete revision of search protocols. Previously, searches for missing children focused on a 2-mile radius. The Patterson case proved children can travel much further than previously thought, especially when following water sources or animal trails. Modern search operations now extend far beyond traditional parameters. Weather as a critical factor. Meteorological analysis revealed that the October 2019 weather pattern created unique atmospheric conditions that may have affected both navigation equipment and sound travel. The temperature inversion that occurred during their disappearance could have caused voices to carry in unexpected directions, potentially leading rescuers away from the actual location. The psychological impact of extended searches. Sarah Patterson's 5-year ordeal highlighted the need for better family support systems during extended missing person cases. Mental health professionals now recommend specific therapeutic interventions for families of the missing, recognizing that hope without resolution creates a unique form of trauma requiring specialized treatment. Wilderness preparedness protocols. The case led to new recommendations for hiking with children: emergency whistles, bright clothing, GPS beacons, detailed trip plans filed with multiple contacts, and most critically, teaching children to hug a tree, stay in one place if separated, rather than trying to find their way back. This tragedy reminds us that nature doesn't discriminate based on experience or preparation. Even experts can become victims of circumstances beyond their control, and the wilderness always demands our deepest respect and most careful preparation.